I'm Jada Franson and this is my weekly roundup. The new Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, delivered his first budget in the House of Commons on Wednesday and announced an extra $6 million for the health service to cope with the escalating coronavirus crisis. He also announced that the Tory government will increase the immigration health surcharge from £400 to £624 from October 2020. He said, "Migrants benefit from our NHS, and we all want them to do so, but it's right that what people get out, they also put in. There is a surcharge already, but it doesn't properly reflect the benefits people receive. So, as we promised in our manifesto, we are increasing the immigration health surcharge to £624 with a discounted rate for children. We all benefit from a thriving health service, so it is right that we ask everyone to contribute." As Sunak pointed out, the Conservatives had promised to increase the surcharge to this level during the 2019 general election campaign, the same general election that they won by a landslide. It was policies such as this that got them such a vast number of votes. The people of Britain want to see measures in place that will control and manage immigration into our island. Well, not everyone in Britain. Of course, you had the usual hissy fit from the left-wing opposition parties who think that everything in Britain should just be free to everyone across the globe and that we should all live in some imaginary socialist utopia. Stuart MacDonald from the SNP tweeted that the announcement was just a shameful, petty and counterproductive move to increase, yet again, the immigration health surcharge. Our hard-working citizens from overseas do pay tax after all, #Budget 2020. Lib Dem MP Layla Moran tweeted, "NHS funding. Tories are increasing the immigration health surcharge, so migrant workers who we desperately need to staff vital services pay more, even though they contribute on average more to the economy. Shameful. #hostile environment." I actually don't mind the term hostile environment. It was coined by the left and the mainstream media to try and demonise the Conservatives over any proposal to control immigration. But why shouldn't the environment be hostile to those wanting to come here for nothing? If you don't purchase a train ticket, the ticket inspector doesn't give you a hug and tell you how welcome you are to stay on the train anyway. If hostility is simply asking people to pay into a health system that has been funded by British citizens since 1948, then I am happy to live in a hostile nation. Thanks to mass immigration, we have seen the face of our nation change in the space of a few decades, and many voters elected Boris Johnson in the hope that he might be able to restore a more recognisable Britain. After years of uncontrolled immigration, our National Health Service has taken a battering, and it is us, the indigenous people of Britain, who are suffering. The immigration surcharge is on top of regular tax and national insurance that all workers pay, and the levy is added on to visa applications as an annual fee and must be paid up front before permission is granted to work. The Treasury estimates the increased immigration health levy will raise £1.5 billion by 2025. Sounds good to me. I do not have a great deal of faith in our politicians, and I personally would like to see immigration halted altogether, at least until we can rid our nation of the disproportionate number of foreign criminals we are housing and supporting. But this Tory government have announced they only want the brightest and the best to head to the UK in a post-Brexit immigration shake-up. So, if you are unwilling to pay for the privilege of using our healthcare system, stay where you are. For far too long, we have allowed foreigners to enter our country and instantly reap the benefits of our health, education, welfare and housing systems. This immigration health surcharge is a very small but welcome step to putting an end to that madness. On a weekly basis, I see judges make the craziest decisions, like this creature being given a suspended sentence for sexually assaulting a child whilst he was dressed up in a school uniform, or this terrorist being spared deportation so that he could then go on and receive £400,000 in legal aid from the hard-working British taxpayers. And all the while knowing that I was forced to serve 9 months in prison for handing out some leaflets about a gang of rapists. So my faith in the British judiciary is not great, to say the least, but there are some glimmers of hope that they have not all gone completely insane. Thankfully, this week was one such occasion. A campaigner named Christy Ellen Kane has lost a Court of Appeal challenge against the government over gender-neutral passports. Christy Ellen Kane has claimed the process for applying for a UK passport is inherently discriminatory, as it requires individuals to state whether they are male or female.
Well, non-gender fighting for legal recognition is very much a personal campaign. I knew that I was neither male nor female, but I didn't have a clue what to do about it.
Ellen Kane wanted passports to have an X category for those who do not identify as fully male or female. Ellen Kane took the case to the Court of Appeal after a judicial review action was dismissed by the High Court in June 2018. This week, the appeal was rejected. Christy Ellen Kane was refused permission to appeal to the Supreme Court by the Court of Appeal, but can still appeal directly to the Supreme Court to hear the case. Well, thank goodness. It's not often I say this, but well done to the British judiciary. This assault on all things natural has got to come to an end at some point, surely. I sometimes wonder what insane concept the loony left can possibly come up with next. And to their credit, they always seem to think of something.
What we're asking for is a new, like a third option, essentially, or maybe no option, no gender on the passport absolutely at all. Why is it so important to have gender? I think it's going to increase security to not have gender on it because, as you know, in the Brazilian jail, there was a prisoner that tried to dress up as his daughter in order to get out of jail. So actually, if we take gender out of the equation, security increases. I, as a South Asian person, come from, my heritage is British, is Indian and South Pakistani. Now, the British imposed a gender binary on that subcontinent, that binary notion of gender, which is actually quite foreign to us as South Asian.
There you go, folks. Just in case the British aren't blamed for enough, we are now being held responsible for imposing gender binary onto the people of South Asia. How awful of us. Look, it's a fact that there are two genders. A person can either be born biologically male or biologically female. God created man in his image and woman from the rib of man. I reject any other nonsense that these attention seekers want to try and force upon us. Local and mayoral elections in England will be postponed for a year due to the coronavirus outbreak. Downing Street said they expect the elections, which are due to take place this May, would fall at the same time as the expected peak of the spread of the virus, and it would therefore be impractical to hold them at such a time. Polls were due in 118 English councils, the London Assembly, and for 7 English regional mayors. Voting was also due to take place for the London Mayor and Police and Crime Commissioners in England and Wales. Those elections are now due to take place a year later in May 2021. So here's the terrible news. We are now saddled with the worst London mayor on record for another year because of an unforeseen virus. The man that wants to flood our capital city with so-called refugees. The man that greets Londoners in Arabic.
Assalamu alaikum.
The man that has spoken at several events organised by radical Islamic groups Stop Political Terror. The man that has said he cannot remember if he has shared a platform with other extremists. The man that promotes events available to non-white women only. Those are just a few of his credentials. It's no wonder that London has become an absolute hellhole under this man's control. I'm a Londoner, born and bred, but like so many millions of other Brits, I do not recognise my home city anymore. The streets are covered in the blood of young, predominantly black men who buy into this rhetoric peddled by the likes of Sadiq Khan that non-whites are oppressed, marginalised and disadvantaged, none of which is true. In 2015 to 16, there were some 9,740 stabbings in London. That's over 811 per month. Since Sadiq Khan became Mayor of London back in 2016, the number of knife crimes recorded in London rose to 12,110 in 2016 to 17. It rose again to 14,770 in 2017 to 18. And it rose even further in 2018 to 2019 with a staggering 14,840 knife crimes on the streets of London. So with the postponement of these elections, London will be subjected to another year under this man's disastrous and negligent control. May 2021 cannot come soon enough. The incessant news coverage of the coronavirus is enough to make you miss Brexit. The World Health Organization have declared COVID-19 to be a pandemic.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
The worldwide hysteria that the mainstream media have been subsequently whipping up is absolutely disgraceful. This week we have seen crazy taken to a whole new level. The Democrats and the mainstream media slammed President Trump for supposedly not doing enough to contain the virus. Then, when he suspends all flights from Europe, they go into meltdown. My favourite of all the lefty rants has to be this one from Heather Cox Richardson. I cannot make sense of this. Is he deliberately crashing the American economy and dividing us from Europe? If so, is this Putin's work yet again? A final gift as Trump loses control of the country? That woman is fit for a straitjacket. This, boys and girls, is what happens when you contract both Trump derangement syndrome and Putin derangement syndrome at the same time. Stay away from CNN, kids. The EU threw a wobbly about the US making this unilateral decision. Like a foot-stamping toddler, the European Union displayed their petulance at the President of the United States making a decision about his own country without consulting them first. If anyone was in doubt that these unelected bureaucrats aren't power-grabbing control freaks, just take a look at this.
The European Union disapproves of the fact that the US decision to impose a travel ban was taken unilaterally and without consultation.
So deluded are these globalists that they actually think they should have a say in how the USA, the world's superpower on a different continent, handles the containment of the coronavirus. No wonder my people voted for Brexit. As it turns out, the World Health Organization has declared Europe to be the epicenter of the pandemic. So Trump was right to get the jump on that and ban travel from mainland Europe.
Europe has now become the epicenter of the pandemic.
Trump excluded the UK and Ireland from that initial ban because we currently have a significantly lower number of cases. Want to know why? Because we are islands. Therefore, we do not fall into the Schengen zone created by the EU globalists who abolished all borders across 26 EU member states to allow free movement for all. Borders save lives. As Trump quite rightly pointed out, by taking the initiative to first ban travel from China, then Europe, then being vindicated for doing so after the China-born virus was declared a pandemic and Europe the epicenter, he has undoubtedly saved American lives. China have now declared the virus to be a US conspiracy. They are claiming the Wuhan flu, which originated in Wuhan, China, is the fault of the US military. A Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson said, "It might be the US Army who brought the epidemic to Wuhan. Be transparent. Make public your data. The US owes us an explanation." These people are even more deluded than the EU gang. Elsewhere, people have been following the advice issued by their respective governments and the World Health Organization, like this man in Rome who made absolutely certain that he would not breach the 1 meter social distancing guidance.
Cioè questa sarebbe la distanza di sicurezza per il coronavirus.
Oh yes.
Che meraviglia. Io non la faccio, ragazzi.
This barista in Florence is also using its initiative to ensure people get a virus-free coffee.
Grazie. Misura antivirus. Misura antivirus. Grazie.
Not everyone seems to have got the memo about personal hygiene, which must explain why these Iranians are licking the walls of a shrine.
این مرض کرونا رو من خوردم. ان شاءالله شما بلند شی بیا زیارت علی. تمام درا رو آقا حیدر بوس کرد. باری کلا به این معرفت. بچه چند ساله. لیست کرد به چشاش ماری. تمام درا رو لیست کرد. اگه مریضی میکروبیده تو بدن ما بره. بدن بچه هام و مادرمون بره. زائرین علیه به نام سررضا چیزشون نشه.
اینجا مال کرونا شده. آقای منم الان اینجا ببینید لیست میزنم هر چی کاغذ مال من بیاد.
It is probably worth noting that Iran remains the third worst affected country in the world with the highest number of new cases of the virus. Shocking. Meanwhile, Iranian Islamic medical officials are denying all knowledge of the disease and claim that it's nothing but a story designed to take away their religion.
با همه روبوسی میکنیم، دیدار میکنیم. مرقد هم خدمت خانم خواهم رفت. همه جا میپیچیم، همه کاری هم میکنیم، به همه هم نشون میدیم که اینا داستانه. اینا میخوان دین ما رو از ما بگیرن. میخوان صدمه به ما بزنن.
Other Mohammedans believe that the coronavirus is one of Allah's soldiers sent to punish the non-believers.
أما إذا أصابت الأوبئة غير المؤمنين من الظالمين والمعتدين فهي عقوبة فهذا الفيروس جندي من جنود الله تعالى.
Back home in Britain, the shelves of every supermarket are completely bare as people are getting sucked into the sinful scaremongering being pumped out by the mainstream media. Stooping to new lows, we now have the likes of Piers Morgan stepping up from being an annoying prick to an actual public menace, as he declares the government seems to be avoiding draconian shutdown action now because we will all get too bored with it. Trust me, nobody is going to be bored with coronavirus when it starts killing their relatives and friends. We're in a war and everyone needs to wake the up to it. Just when I thought I could not possibly respect that man any less, he publishes something as reckless as that. It is that very rhetoric that's causing widespread panic and fear. He should be done for incitement. Because let's face it, throughout all the hysteria, the left-wing lunacy, and even moments of humour found by those worst affected, the very real byproduct of the mainstream media's propaganda is people physically attacking each other over toilet rolls.
I just want one pack. No, not one pack.
I went to a supermarket on Friday and a pensioner looked at me in utter despair because everything was gone. And I mean everything. There was no meat, no pasta, the shelves were empty. A guy working in the store said they had a full delivery that morning. There are millions of people in Britain who simply cannot afford to panic buy. Old-aged pensioners, single mothers, people on low income, they are the ones who are suffering when people who can afford to are clearing the shelves and stockpiling as if we're facing a world war.
Ma perché ci sono gli scaffali della pasta vuoti? Ma che cosa sta succedendo? Manco quando è scoppiata la seconda guerra mondiale c'era stato un panico così.
I understand that people are anxious. There are so many questions people have, like, will our holiday be cancelled or will Liverpool still win the league? I think the main thing people need to do is stay calm and think of others. I'm so utterly disgusted with the media for generating widespread hysteria. They're doing absolutely nothing to reassure people. They're just blinding us all with doomsday headlines. Our Prime Minister has set out the government's plans to try and delay the spread of the virus. It's impossible to make the virus go away, but they're taking steps towards delaying the peak, which will hopefully save our NHS from collapsing under the pressure. The bottom line is we do not know how this thing is going to pan out. Here in Britain, the worst is definitely yet to come. It's likely that in the not-so-distant future, schools will close. People will be placed in lockdown and most of us will be affected by the disease, which has now seen the cancellation of public events such as St Patrick's Day parades and the London Marathon. The mortality rate is currently around 3.7%. Almost half of the people with confirmed cases of the coronavirus have fully recovered. The chances are I will get it. You will get it. Up to 80% of us will be affected. But it's important to remember that this is a flu. It will make us ill. It will keep us off work and school. It will prevent us from going to the shops, and in some cases it could see us hospitalised and prove fatal, particularly for people with underlying health issues and respiratory problems. It's important that we rationalise this. These are the same issues we all face with the common flu. I am urging people to stay calm. Let's keep our levels of hygiene up. Let's focus on the facts rather than the mainstream media frenzy, and let's be considerate of one another. It is times like this when individual nations have an opportunity to prove how strong they can be. No globalist agenda or treaty is going to help us. This is a time for every single respective nation to put their own people first. This might be the global disaster that reinforces just how powerful nationalism is. I will leave you with this image. A country on lockdown, people confined to their houses under strict isolation rules. And what do? They sing their national anthem, wave their nation's flag, and pull together as a people. God is always at work.